Denmark has announced a timeline for ending its lockdown restrictions. Some are loosening today, including professional sports teams can resume training. Shops will be allowed to reopen on Monday, and a week later, bars and restaurants can serve customers inside, and secondary school pupils can return to classrooms. Well, for more on how the Nordic countries are trying to get back to normal, let's go to the Swedish capital to speak to our reporter Per Nyberg. Morning to you, Per. Let's start with Denmark if we can. The timeline to getting back to this sort of new version of normal is quite pacey compared to that in other countries. Can you just lay out what they're doing, and also in Norway, because all schools in Norway open on Monday? Tell us what's happening.
Right, good morning, Rosie. Basically, the Danish Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, announced yesterday a plan which is actually more progressive than they had initially thought. There was a long debate between the parties in the Danish Parliament, but they finally agreed on this very advanced phase 2, as they call it. So starting Monday, you're going to see things like restaurants and cafes reopening, some schools reopening, stores basically then starting Monday, and then a week later we'll see restaurants and cafes. They still have not made a decision in terms of cinemas, universities, gyms. Those kind of things are still going to remain closed. But we're seeing some major things happening in Denmark, which is further south here from Sweden. Now, comparing that to Norway, there's a key similarity between Denmark and Norway, and that is professional sports. Both the Danish and the Norwegian governments were quite pleased to announce that professional sports can now kick back in, and that means, for example, for the professional football leagues, they can restart. In Denmark, they had already started their professional football league. In Norway, we're going to see the professional football league start on June the 16th, but the different the different players can now go back to practicing, which is a main thing for the Danish football leagues and the Norwegian football leagues. I mean, it's a lot of money that's also invested in this, of being able to go back to playing sports. In Norway, we're also going to see all schools reopening. Norway has actually had pretty much of a two-part strategy. First, they wanted to knock down the virus, and now it's a matter of controlling it. The Norwegian Prime Minister Erna Solberg says Norway now has it under control. We're also going to see the number of people that can gather in one place. That will increase. Starting Monday, we'll see up to 20 people in private assemblies, and then in public gatherings, you can have as many as 50 people gather. And that means for the Norwegian National Day on May the 17th, more people can gather and celebrate the National Day, which is a big thing, obviously, in Norway.
Per, you're in Sweden, a country that's really captured attention across the world because, of course, you never impose the same sort of lockdown that we've seen across the rest of the continent. Chief scientist, though, particularly your chief epidemiologist, who's become a bit of a celebrity in the country, has said some lessons have been learned. What are those?
I think the key lesson here is that they just don't know what the right strategy is. I mean, Sweden has pursued this strategy. They've stayed the course the whole way. The key lesson there is in terms of the elderly care, the nursing homes. They don't know how that happened, how Sweden has now reached over 3,000 deaths, comparing that to Denmark's 514 and Norway's only 215. So there's a key difference there, and those are the deaths in nursing homes. I've also spoken to the European CDC this week, and they're saying, sure, we're going to see the number of cases drop over the summer, but come this fall, come this winter, they expect a new wave of the coronavirus spreading in all these countries. So which strategy has been